Debian. Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. Debian. One of the oldest Linux distributions around. Strong and rock solid. Today I'm going to talk about Debian and I'm going to show you how to install it. So let's get to it. So this is a virtual machine. A Debian install I did, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, and to have the awesome window manager, and it looks the same as all my other videos. It looks the same as the awesome window manager in my main production machine. It looks like the awesome window manager in all my installs from all my videos. It has my configuration file in it for awesome, so it's not a default awesome. Here we have my menu. Let's call up Firefox. There's Firefox. Let's call up a terminal. I have Xterm installed. Mensch at Debian. Let's do a neofetch. Let's pull out my my keyboard here. Neofetch. Oh, I don't have neofetch installed. How about that? Let's install it. Sudo apt install neofetch. How about that? Put my password in. And yes, it's installing neofetch. Now there is a graphical app store installed in here, and I'll show you that after. So let's clear the screen. Let's do a neofetch. And there we have it. Debian. Of course, you can see it's a virtual machine. It's been up for 34 minutes. The awesome window manager. My terminal is Xterm. And I gave it 4 gigs of RAM. It's using up 435 megabytes. And that's because Debian is a little bit heavier than Arch and Arch-based systems. Now let's do HTOP. Let's close that. Well, I can just do, you know what? I can just do it with my menu here. There we go. And here's HTOP. So I gave it 4 processors. I gave it 4 gigs of RAM. And it's using 439 megabytes of RAM. This was an automated Debian install, and it automatically did 1 gig for a swap. You can see the swap partition here. Now, when I do my Arch installs, I don't use a swap partition, and I don't like them, but I don't care about 1 gig. You know, 1 gig is not bad. So let's close that, and let's log out. I'm going to quit. Go into my login manager. I'm going to go up here and pull down the menu. And I'm going to log into Cinnamon. I'm going to put my name in, Bench, my password, super secret, of course. And now we're logged into Cinnamon. And with the exception of the wallpaper, and I really do like that wallpaper, that is the default Debian wallpaper. I think it's beautiful. I like it. I like the blue. So as you can see, this looks like my regular Cinnamon. And in all of my distributions, whether it be Arch, Linux Mint, Manjaro, this is the Cinnamon the way I like it. So, of course, we have my weather app here. Pull it up to get the hourly weather. I got my volume control. I got my time, my clock. I have my menu, I have the lock screen, logout screen, the start, shutdown menu. I have my office, my LibreOffice. installed, my rhythm box, my internet, I have Firefox, calculator, everything is here. It looks like my normal, here's my file manager. What else? Oh, here's the settings menu. Just looks like any Cinnamon that I always set up, Linux Mint, whatever. And of course, Linux Mint is the team that makes a Cinnamon desktop and maintains it. But this is pure Debian. This is not Linux Mint based on Debian. This is pure Debian. So what I'm going to do is shut down. And you know what? Let's just go into the terminal and do it. I like shutting down in the terminal. Let's do, in Debian, you have to do sudo. Now, when I'm in my Arch system, I normally just do, oh, before I go there, also, I have Zesh installed. I have my Zesh configuration installed. And I also have Xterm installed, and Xterm is configured the way I like it. So, let's just, when you shut down an Arch, you just do shut down now. But in Debian, you have to do sudo shut down now. Now, of course, I could just shut down this way. Just shut down that way. That's easy, right? Because this is the Cinnamon desktop, which is what the best desktop environment around if you're not using Window Manager. Let's just shut down. Oh, it's going to ask for my password. So what I'm going to do is go into Firefox, and I'm going to type in Debian. And what you do is go here and just click on this. Click on download. Click on download, and it's going to download it. It's about 382 megabytes. It's very fast, and it's a net install. Now you can scoot through all the Debian web pages or different pages in here, and they have various different types of ISOs that you can download. ISOs that have more apps on them and more programs, and kind of don't really like their website because you can get lost in all different types of ISOs that you can get. But I think the easiest and quickest way to get Debian is just on their main page here. Click on download and download the 382 megabyte net ISO. It's going to be very quick and fast. Now the install is not so fast, but downloading the ISO is. So I'm going to close this. And we're going to do graphical install. Okay, you can use your arrows to move it down. Let's just do graphical install. So this is a easy to use graphical install. It's different than the Calamares or the easy to install other Linux distributions, but it's usable. So we're going to click on English because I speak English. Set at United States, but I'm just going to go up to Canada. There you go, because I'm in Canada. Canadian English here, so I'll just pick American English. So it's asking for a host name. So I'm going to type in Debian-3. Oops. Let's try that. Enter. Domain name you can skip. Let's hit enter. So it's asking me for a root password. So I'm going to put my root password in. It's asking me to re-enter my root password. So I'm going to re-enter it again. And I'm going to continue. Click that. Now it's asking me for a user account. So I'm going to type in Mensch. I'm going to hit enter. It's asking me for a password. It's asking me to re-enter the password. And I'm going to continue. Now it's recognizing the different time zones in Canada. Use your arrow keys. I'm in Eastern. And it's looking for my disks. So like I said, this is going to be a half an hour to an hour install. So I'm going to pause the video, but I'm going to be restarting the video throughout certain parts of the install because there are places where you have to answer questions where So if you go away, you go to work or you go to bed or go for dinner, there's going to be places where the install stops and waits for you to answer the questions. So at those points, I'm going to restart the video, answer the questions, pause the video again, and continue installation. So what you want here is you have manual. You don't want to do that. I'm going to do the first one. Guided use entire disk. It's recognizing my 42 gig hard drive virtual disk. I'm just going to enter. Now it's asking about partitions, and the one that's default, where it is, all files in one partition recommended for new users. Now, some people like to have a separate home partition. If you'd like to do that, you can click it on. But the default is all files in one partition recommended for new users, and that's the one I always use, even though I'm not really a new user. And click on. It's asking me if everything is okay. I'm going to just hit enter. Now it's asking me, write changes to the disk. The default is no. And reason why is they're trying to protect you and keep you safe from writing over the wrong disk. So if you have several disks in your computer, this is going to save you, going to make you stop and think twice before you say yes. So if you say no, you won't do the install. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to continue. Now it's starting the base installation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to come back when it's time to answer some more questions. I'm back. So it's asking me, scan extra installation media. The default is no, and I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to hit continue. Now it's asking me where I want the mirrors to come from, and it's automatically landing on Canada, because earlier on in installation, I clicked on that I'm from Canada, or in Canada. So I'm going to just click continue. And now it's giving me a list of mirrors from Canada. And I'm going to pick this one. This is a university in Waterloo. And I could also click this one. This is also another university this is the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. I could click that on. I like to click university mirrors, but this one's closer to me, so I'm going to click this one. I'm going to hit continue. And I'm going to skip this one. You don't need to do anything there. So let's click on continue. And it's configuring app. And I'm going to pause the video again and I'll be back. Now it's asking if I want to participate in a survey. The default is no. I'm going to leave it at no. And it's telling you can change it later. Continue. Now it's asking me what desktop environment I want. So I'm going to unclick that. I'm going to unclick no. You could click on more than one if you want. But I'm only going to click on Cinnamon. And after the fact, I'm going to install Awesome. And I'm going to leave on Standard System Utilities. So I'm only leaving on two. I'm leaving on Cinnamon and Standard System Utilities. I'm going to continue. And this part's going to take a while, so I'm going to pause the video and come back. I'm back. So now it's asking me if I want to install Grub. And I'm going to say yes. I'm going to hit continue. And now it's asking me if I want to do it manually. And I'm going to say no. I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to click on continue. And we're done. So we're going to reboot. And we have successfully installed pure Debian. Just make this full screen. And we're at the login manager. So I'm going to put my name in. I'm going to put my password in. So we have successfully installed pure Debian with the Cinnamon desktop. And it's kind of ugly. I like the wallpaper. I think the wallpaper is nice. And there are other wallpapers in there. They're not fantastic, but you can download your own wallpapers. Now, the thing about the Cinnamon desktop is that when you install it in pure Debian or pure Arch, it looks like this. Well, if you install it in pure Arch, you won't have the wallpaper. It'll be a different wallpaper. But other than that, it's going to look the same. It's going to be themed exactly the same. In pure Arch or pure Debian, it's ugly. Now, it's easy enough to configure, and I'm not going to do that in this video. I want to keep the video short. But if you want to know how to theme the Cinnamon desktop, you can watch my Linux Mint videos or some of my Arch videos. Because in my Arch videos, I show you how to install and theme the Cinnamon desktop. And I also show it in my Linux Mint videos because it's the same. So when you're running the Cinnamon desktop, regardless of the distribution you're in, it's all the same. So I'm not going to go through all that. I mean, normally I make the font size bigger. I change the format of the clock and the way it looks. I install the weather app. I change the theming here, and the colors and the icons look a lot different and nicer. I'm not going to go through all that. But there are just a few things I'm going to do, and then I'm going to end the video. So, number one, when you install a pure Debian, it doesn't give you sudo privileges like most of the modern Linux distributions do. And if you were paying attention, if you followed my install, you would have noticed that when I added in my root, it asked me for a password. When I added in my user, it asked me for a password, but it didn't ask me if I wanted my user to have administrative privileges or to be a super user. So it doesn't do that by default. And it might be one of the only distributions that doesn't do that by default. So what you want to do is go into a terminal, and you're going to log into root and do su. You're going to put your password in. Now we're in root. So Vim is not installed by default, and I'm not going to install it here in this post installation. But VI is installed, and that's an older version of Vim, and it's not as flexible as Vim, but it's usable. And also Nano is also installed by default. So today, for probably the first time in my videos, I'm going to use Nano. Now I could use VI. It's pretty much the same. So VI sudoers, it works. And I'm going to close this. So I'm going to use Nano this time. So I'm going to type in Nano sudoers. And I'm going to go down. And I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to type in bench, capital ALL, equals, bracket, all, colon, all, bracket, oops, like that. And then hit enter, and I'm going to save the file. So down here, you see you have instructions. And Control X is exit. So I'm going to hold down the control button and hit my X. It's asking me if I want to save the file. And I'm going to put a capital yes. And I'm just going to hit enter. And now it's saved. I'm just going to cat it to make sure that it was saved properly. And it was. You can see Mensch is there. So now Mensch has sudo privileges. I'm going to clear the screen. Exit. Now let's see if Mensch can do an update. Oops. Sudo apt update. Put my password in. and it's checking for updates, and you can see here all packages are up to date. So now Mensch has sudo privileges. Now what I'm going to do is install 2 programs, and then I'm going to end the video. I am going to install Awesome Window Manager. Sudo apt install awesome. Hit enter. Hit enter again. And now it is installing the Awesome Window Manager. And I'm going to use the graphical Synaptic Package Manager to install Uncomplicated Firewall. Now I could install that in the terminal, just like I did with Awesome, but just to show you how the system works, I'm going to use Synaptic Package Manager. I'm going to close that. Let's go open up this. Let's type in sy Synaptic Package Manager. It's asking password for root. And now we're in. And I'm going to install the graphical Uncomplicated Firewall. So I'm going to click on search. I'm going to type in GUFW. The G stands for graphical or GUI Uncomplicated Firewall. Let's do a search. Here it is there. I'm going to click it on. Mark for installation. To be installed. Mark. Apply. Apply. And it's installing it. And it's done. Let's close it. Close it. Go in here. Going to go to settings. Going to open it up. Going to go to the bottom. Here's the firewall. Let's click it on. Put my password in. There it is there. And I'm just going to toggle it on. And now it's on. And your firewall is set. And close that. I'm going to log out. I'm going to click on this up here. I'm going to click on Awesome. I'm going to type in my username, my password. And now we're in the Awesome Window Manager with the default Debian configuration. So with the Debian configuration, it's not like the Arch, because with the Arch configuration, the menu is bare. There's like 4 or 5 things in it, and anything else you want in it, you got to do it yourself. You got to add things to the menu. But in the Debian default configuration, regardless of whether you're installing the Awesome Window Manager in a pure Debian, or you're installing the Awesome Window Manager in Linux Mint or MX Linux, it's all the same. So because they're coming from Debian, even if you're using Linux Mint Ubuntu. If you're using Linux Mint Ubuntu, Linux Mint Debian, MX Linux, pure Debian, the Awesome Window Manager is going to look the same. It's all going to be highly configured in this menu. And all your programs are going to be in this menu. And you have menus within menus. So this is the default Debian Awesome Window Manager. Let's type in htop. Oh, htop is not installed. Sudo apt install htop. Put my password in. And htop is installed. Let's type it in. And we're using 346 megs. So in this virtual machine, I gave it 4 processors. I gave it 4 gigs of RAM. The automated installer gave it 1 gig. And I'm only using 346 megabytes of RAM. So If this was an Arch, I might be using 246 megabytes of RAM. So Debian's a little bit heavier. So we're only using 346 megabytes of RAM. And I'm going to close the terminal. Let's get out of here. I'm going to quit. Going to go back up here to Cinnamon. Type in my username. Type in my password. You can ignore this. This error message up here is because this is a virtual machine. And let's type in htop here, or let's just call it up in the menu. Htop. And we're using 800. Now, if I was running the Cinnamon desktop in Arch, it'd probably be more around 500. 600 at the most. So Debian runs a little heavier than Arch. So that is pure Debian. And of course, like I said earlier, you can make this look nicer. You can make this look exactly like it did at the beginning of the video when I showed a different installation of Debian that I have on my computer that I configured. But I'm not going to go through all that. That's easy enough to do. You can watch my other videos and learn how to do that. Debian. So that was Debian. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. I am the Linux Mitch.